लाइव न्यूज़ शो में फौरी खबर आपसे शेयर करें कि माशी सिफारत, जैसे कि पहले शेयर कर चुके हैं, माशी सिफारतकारी के हवाले से 2 रोज़ा कॉन्फ्रेंस जो है वो आज से इस्लामाबाद में हो रही है। कॉन्फ्रेंस में बराह रास्त बैरूनी सरमायाकारी बरामदात में कैसे इजाफा किया जा सकता है और बहुत सारे ऐसे उमूर पर गौर किया जा रहा है। वज़ीर ख़ारजा शाह महमूद कुरैशी, वज़ीर ख़जाना असद उमर, मुशीर तिजारत जो है वज़ीर आज़म के अब्दुल रज़ाक दाऊद और इस्लाहात के लिए वज़ीर आज़म के मुशीर डॉक्टर इशरत हुसैन इसमें मौजूद हैं। तकरीब का अहवाल जो है वो आपसे शेयर करते हैं।
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Abdul Razak Daud Sahib, Advisor on Commerce, Textile Industry and Production. Dr. Ishrat Hussain, Advisor on Institutional Reforms and Austerity. Harun Sharif Sahab, Chairman Board of Investment. Federal Secretaries, Ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Foreign Office and on my own behalf, I wish to extend a very warm welcome to all of you at the inaugural session of the Envoys Conference on Economic Diplomacy. At the outset, allow me to express my profound gratitude to the Ministry of Commerce and the Board of Investment for their excellent collaboration in making this event possible. A very special thanks to Abdul Razak Daud Sahib and Chairman Harun Sharif for their role in envisioning and executing this joint endeavor. We are gathered here today to deliberate a matter of great importance and seek answer to some key questions. The world over, only those economies have prospered that have innovated, building ideas, knowledge, skills and resources to produce quality, cost-effective, value-added products that capture markets. Only those economies have forged ahead that have been receptive to ideas and innovations and are adept at tailoring them to their own needs. To do so in a flat, globalized world necessitates becoming part of the global production chain. If Pakistan is to develop on a sustainable basis, if Pakistan is to break the begging bowl once and for all, if we are to become an integral part of the global value chain, then we must better leverage our diplomatic machinery and harness our regional and global linkages in pursuit of national development agenda. Economic diplomacy is the need of the hour. Our government has placed economic revival and growth at the highest pedestal of its reform agenda. Our manifesto speaks of roadmaps on politico-economic diplomacy, on enhancing exports, boosting investments, and alleviating poverty. Our 100 days performance attests to the priority we attach to it. In these 100 days, we've been able to secure support from key allies and avert imminent balance of payments difficulties. But crisis aversion neither was nor will be good enough. We have to do much better. The people of Pakistan expect this of us. Pakistan's innate potential and inherent prospects, its immutable resilience and immense resources demand this of us. This conference today focuses on investments and trade which are critical to our economic diplomacy agenda. Equally important is the need to scale up and prudently utilize development assistance flows and increase remittances through enhanced employment opportunities abroad for our labor force. We have no reason for pessimism. Consider these facts. In terms of size, Pakistan is equivalent to France and Germany put together, or 3 times the size of Great Britain. Pakistan is the 6th most populous country with the third largest number of English speakers and a growing number of Chinese and Arabic speakers. More than half of our population is less than 25 years of age. This means that in terms of sheer demographics, Pakistani youth outnumber some 179 members of the UN. With 194 universities, Pakistan has amongst the largest number of doctors, engineers, and trained professionals who feed into the economy of not just Pakistan, but economies the world over. At nearly 9 million, Pakistanis constitute the sixth largest diaspora. Although now water-stressed, Pakistan has the largest irrigation system. We rank among the largest producers of cotton and dairy products. We have among the world's largest reserves of coal, salt, and other minerals. Our variegated geography is among the most diverse in the world, ranging from some of the highest peaks to forests, deserts, and virgin coasts. Much of the subterranean wealth has yet to be discovered. Finally, in a critical part of the world, Pakistan affords overland route to three key regions and economic powerhouses: South Asia, Central Asia, China, and the Middle East. In terms of purchasing power parity, Pakistan is even today the 26th largest economy in the world. PricewaterhouseCoopers projects Pakistan to become the world's 20th largest economy by 2030 and the 16th largest by 2050. Goldman Sachs has identified Pakistan as one of the next 11 economies that will become drivers of global growth this century. And Pakistan is projected to be the next big thing in international tourism. Following exchange rate adjustments, our exports have been picking pace. Our GDP is expected to cross the 38 trillion rupees mark this year. Pakistan is host to some 200 multinationals operating in almost every sphere of economic activity that have seen good profitability. In the next phase of CPEC, a chain of special economic zones is set to be established across the length and breadth of the country. These statistics beg the simple question: why have we not been able to do a better job at attracting foreign investment, diversifying our export base, and raising our trade profile? They challenge us to find ways and means to power up our performance by taking all measures necessary to rectify the deficiencies. Unarguably, comparable countries with a smaller base have done a much better job. Unquestionably, the war on terror, the security situation, and the chronic energy deficit have taxed our economy and diverted our attention. But these are now past us. A more promising future beacons, provided we prepare for it. I cannot claim to have all the answers. Perhaps no one can. While we need to put our heads together to maximize the outcomes and synergize our efforts, allow me to share my three key messages with you. Firstly, we view this Envoys Conference not an end in itself, but as the beginning of an honest and result-oriented process among our concerned ministries, our envoys, and our public and private sectors. Secondly, the Foreign Office respects and understands the role of institutions. We neither have the intent nor the capacity to assume that role. What we do have is a set of skills and a vantage point which we feel can add to the strength of other ministries. We feel Pakistan's national interests and our respective mandates will be best served if we pooled our skills and resources, benefit from yours, and place ours at your disposal. Thirdly, while pooling expertise and resources, we need to evolve genuine partnerships and build real synergies within departments, with the private sector, academia, and research community. Only then will outcomes be scaled up and tangible benefits accrue to the people of Pakistan. We must address and overcome constraints in terms of processes, products, and capacities. We must develop, act, and deliver as one government. Around the world, and more pertinently in our own region in Asia, we've seen countries come out of dire economic conditions, lift their people out of poverty, and achieve sustained socio-economic growth. They have done so by attracting investments from abroad, initially from their own diasporas established overseas. They have put their economies on a sustainable path by focusing on foreign exchange earnings through value addition and export-led growth. There is no reason for Pakistan to lag behind. I'm confident that this conference will be able to produce insights and come up with an action plan of implementable recommendations. I wish you all every success in your deliberations. Thank you.